I'm about to tell you something that, on the surface, sounds completely insane. It's an idea that, when it first flickered into existence in my own mind, made me seriously question my judgment. I found myself wondering if I was finally losing my grip on reality, or perhaps just finally paying attention to a quiet, persistent ache that's been bothering me for years. But I'm doing it anyway, because I've come to believe that sometimes the most important actions we can take are the ones that feel, at first blush, entirely irrational. I am going to invite 4 people to spend an entire day with me. This isn't for business, not for publicity, and certainly not because they are influential investors, celebrities, or individuals who can offer me something in return. I'm talking about 4 completely random people who are watching this right now. People I do not know, have never met, and who have no existing connection to anything I am building. And yes, you might very well be one of them. Before your mind immediately jumps to labeling this as some clever gimmick or a viral marketing stunt, let me ask you a question, and I want you to answer it honestly to yourself. Have you ever felt a deep, gnawing sense that you are capable of so much more than your current life allows? That there's a version of yourself, a more impactful, more realized, more brilliant version that could exist if only someone, somewhere, gave you a real chance, showed you a hidden path, or simply believed in you enough to open a single, crucial door. If that thought resonates with you, drop a comment below and just type the words, "I feel this," because that feeling is the very reason I am doing this. This isn't an act of charity designed to make me feel good about myself, nor is it a contrived scenario to generate content. It's born from a genuine, unshakable conviction that there are people out there, right now, whose entire trajectory could be altered by one thing they currently lack: access. Let me tell you the story of how this idea came to be. A few months ago, I was in a conversation that fundamentally rewired my perspective on the nature of opportunity. I was talking with a mentor, someone who has seen the inside of more boardrooms and navigated more complex ventures than almost anyone I know. We were discussing how success really works, who gets the opportunities, why some people's vast potential never sees the light of day, while others seem to trip and fall upwards into one fortunate circumstance after another. We debated why some of the most incredibly talented people we knew were spending their entire lives in jobs that didn't challenge them, while others, sometimes with demonstrably less raw talent, were out there building things that changed industries. And then he said something that lodged itself in my mind and has been echoing there almost every day since. He looked at me and said, "Do you know what the real difference is between the people who make it and the people who don't? It's rarely about talent. It's not usually about intelligence or even sheer work ethic. The single greatest determining factor is access. It's access to the right rooms where the real conversations happen. It's access to the right people who can look at your problem and say, 'Here's the piece you're missing,' or 'Let me introduce you to someone who solved this last year,' or, just as powerfully, 'I see what you're trying to do, and I believe you can pull this off.'" He paused, letting the weight of that sink in. "Most people," he continued, "never get that. They walk through their entire lives with the capacity to achieve extraordinary things, but they never encounter the specific, random catalyst that would unlock it all." That observation hit me hard, harder than I was comfortable admitting, even to myself. It was a deeply uncomfortable truth because I knew, instantly, that I have been in those rooms. I have had that access. And yes, I fought for it. I worked relentlessly, earned my way, built companies from the ground up to get there, and took massive, stomach-churning risks that could have easily destroyed me. But I had to be honest with myself and acknowledge that I also had advantages. Privileges I didn't even recognize as privileges at the time. I had connections forged through education, capital from early successes, and a context for how the game was played. I was the beneficiary of the right introduction at precisely the right time, a moment of serendipity that most people never get. It was only years later, looking back, that I could see the almost impossible alignment of lucky breaks that had to occur. The more successful I became, the more visible this invisible architecture of opportunity became. I started seeing it everywhere. I realized how many brilliant people are out there doing nothing truly remarkable, not because they are incapable, but because they are trapped in a system that denies them the very access that would unleash their capabilities. They are stuck in the wrong job, in the wrong city, isolated within the wrong network. They are working on their world-changing ideas in a vacuum, when what they desperately need are collaborators. They have the vision, but no roadmap for execution. They are capable of solving incredibly difficult problems, but have never been exposed to the specific hard problem they are uniquely suited to solve. So, I decided I had to do something about it. Not at scale. I have no intention of launching a massive program, a foundation, or some structured initiative that would inevitably become bloated, bureaucratic, and lose the very essence of what I'm trying to achieve. I wanted to do something direct, something deeply personal, something small enough to actually matter in a profound way for the individuals involved. Because one of the most painful lessons I've learned is that trying to help everyone often results in helping no one. An effort diluted across thousands becomes a feel-good gesture that accomplishes nothing tangible. I wanted to try something that might genuinely alter the trajectory for a few specific people. That is why I am going to invite 4 individuals, 4 complete strangers, to spend one full day with me. And when I say with me, I mean truly with me. This is not about watching me give a keynote speech from the back of an auditorium. This isn't about attending a networking event where I'm surrounded by handlers and you get a rushed 30 seconds to shake my hand. This is about being right there, in the trenches with me. It means riding along to the meetings that matter. It means sitting in the room as actual high-stakes decisions are being made. It means having real, unfiltered conversations about what I'm working on, what I'm genuinely worried about, and what problems are keeping me up at night. You will see how I think about problems, how I approach strategic decisions, and how I handle the pervasive uncertainty and failure that comes with trying to build things. You will see the reality of what it takes, not the polished version you see on Instagram, but the messy, complicated, and often frustrating truth of running companies that are trying to do seemingly impossible things. If this idea of radical transparency resonates with you, and you believe in the power of seeing how things really work behind the curtain, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell because you won't want to miss the updates on how this experiment unfolds. You might be asking, why 4 people? It's a number I've thought a lot about. One person felt too intense, placing too much pressure and an overwhelming spotlight on a single individual. An experience like this needs to be processed, and having a peer to share it with can be invaluable. On the other hand, 10 or 20 people is a crowd. That's a tour group. In that scenario, I'm no longer being myself. I'm performing. My focus shifts from genuine interaction to audience management. 4 feels right. It's a number small enough to facilitate real, deep conversations, to actually get to know who these people are and what they are truly wrestling with. Yet, it's large enough that the participants can learn from each other, bounce ideas around, and form a small, temporary cohort. The value won't just flow from me, it will flow between all 5 of us in that room. So, why am I really doing this? Honestly, a part of it is pure curiosity. I want to know who shows up when you make an offer like this, stripped of all the usual transactional elements. I am fascinated to learn what questions people ask when they are finally in the room, when the situation isn't theoretical or performative, when they have a limited window of time and need to make every single second count. I want to see what happens when you take people who would normally never have this kind of access, and you give them a one-day, all-access pass to see how the machinery actually works. But the deeper reason is that I believe with every fiber of my being that there is someone watching this right now who needs exactly this. Not access to me specifically. Let's be clear, I'm not that special. I'm just a person who has built some companies, made an absurd number of mistakes along the way, and managed to survive. What they need is access to seeing what is possible. They need to understand that the perceived gap between where they are and where they want to be is not the impassable canyon they imagine it to be. Perhaps what they need most is to have someone who has been on that road look them in the eye and say, "You can absolutely do this. Here's how. Here is the blind spot you're not seeing. And here is the specific, tangible next step you should take on Monday morning." Here is what I am offering in concrete terms. 1 full day. You will get an unvarnished look at what a day in my professional life actually entails. Not the curated highlight reel you might see on social media or in carefully edited interviews. You will see the real version, the boring parts, the intensely frustrating parts, and the frequent moments where I don't have the answers and I'm just making the best possible guess based on terrifyingly incomplete information. You will sit in on meetings where real decisions get made, sometimes good ones and sometimes, in retrospect, terrible ones. You will see how I work with my teams, how I delegate, how I think about prioritizing tasks, and what I choose to ignore. You will see what I am good at, and perhaps more illuminatingly, what I am truly terrible at. More importantly, we will have dedicated time to talk. I mean real time, not rushed, on-the-clock time. We will talk about what you are working on, what you are struggling with, and what you dream of building but don't know how to start. We will dive deep into the specific obstacles you are facing right now and explore why they feel so insurmountable. We will dissect what you've tried that hasn't worked and analyze why. I'm not promising that I will have all the answers for you. I don't have the answers to most things in my own life. I'm mostly just navigating by making educated guesses and hoping for the best. But what I can do is share how I have thought about similar problems in the past. I can offer a different perspective, honed by having tried and failed at many, many things before, finding a few that finally worked. And where it makes sense, I can make introductions to people in my network who might be able to help. Have you ever been in a situation where a single piece of advice from the right person changed everything for you? Share that story in the comments below. I'd love to hear about those pivotal moments. This is not mentorship in any formal, ongoing sense. It's not me taking you under my wing or becoming your official advisor. Think of it as a concentrated injection of access. For one day, the doors that are normally locked tight will be wide open. What you do with that day, the questions you ask, the observations you make, the connections you forge, and the insights you walk away with, that is entirely and completely up to you. I am offering the opportunity. You have to be the one to make it meaningful. Now, I can almost hear the thoughts running through your head. Why would he ever choose me? I'm not special. I haven't built anything impressive yet. I don't have the right credentials, the fancy degree, the influential connections, or anything that would make me stand out in a crowd. I'm just a regular person, working on something that, if I'm honest, probably won't even work. Why would someone at his level care in the slightest about what I'm doing? Good. That thought, that very feeling of inadequacy, is exactly the point. I am not looking for people who are already impressive. I am not searching for the polished entrepreneurs who already have it all figured out or who are already perched on the verge of success anyway. I am looking for the people who could be impressive, but aren't there yet. I am looking for people who have something they are actively, passionately working on. Not perfectly, not even successfully yet, but persistently. I am looking for people who have been stuck at a certain plateau and can't figure out how to break through to the next level. I am looking for the people whose potential far outweighs their current circumstances. To that end, here is what I need to know if you are interested. First, what are you building? And please don't interpret that in the narrow Silicon Valley startup sense. Building can mean anything. What are you working on, trying to create, or attempting to bring into the world? It could be a company, a nonprofit project, a scientific idea, a piece of technology, a creative work of art, or a skill you are painstakingly developing. It's about the problem you are trying to solve. Tell me about something that matters deeply to you, something you have been pouring your time and energy into even when there's no guarantee of a payoff. Something you can't stop thinking about, even when it would be so much easier to just quit. If you've been working on a project like this, one that keeps you up at night with excitement and anxiety, hit the like button. It's a sign that you're in the right place. Second, what is the single most specific obstacle you are facing right now? I cannot stress the word specific enough. Don't give me generalities like, I need more money, or I need to find connections. Those are symptoms, not the disease. Vague problems get vague, useless help. Specific problems, on the other hand, sometimes have shockingly specific solutions. Is it a technical problem you can't solve? A strategic decision you can't make? A piece of knowledge you're missing that keeps you stuck in a loop? A particular resource you need but can't find a way to access? Define the precise gap between where you are today and where you need to be tomorrow. And third, what would you do differently if you had one day of complete unfiltered access? Not just to me, but to understanding how impossible-seeming things actually get built from the inside. What would you want to learn? What are the burning questions you would want answered? What specific outcome would make this day truly valuable and transformative for you? I'm not asking for flattery. I'm asking for a strategic plan for your own learning. What is the one insight, the one introduction, or the one shift in perspective that would allow you to make real, tangible progress instead of just spinning your wheels? I am going to read every single response personally. Not an assistant, not an algorithm, not a team filtering things for me. Just me. I will read about what you are working on, and I will think carefully about whether it is something I can actually help with. I am going to choose 4 people based on 2 simple criteria: the substance of what they are working on, and whether I genuinely believe I can offer help that will make a difference. The choice won't be based on credentials, on polish, or on how well you sell yourself. It will be based on evidence of genuine effort towards something that matters, and on encountering a specific obstacle that I might be able to help with, or know someone who can. This might sound too good to be true. You might be thinking it's fake, that there's a hidden catch, or that it's some kind of elaborate social experiment or publicity stunt. I completely understand that skepticism. In today's world, it's a healthy and necessary defense mechanism. But I'm giving you my word that this is real. I am committing my time and energy to this. 4 people, 1 day each. Actual access, actual time, and an actual sincere attempt to help. There will be no cameras, no content created, no publicity whatsoever, unless you yourself decide you want to share your experience. This is just about the day. Will it change your life? I have no idea. Maybe, maybe not. I cannot promise a dramatic transformation, a sudden breakthrough, or any specific outcome. But what it might do is give you something you desperately need right now, a perspective you are missing, a connection to someone who can help, a sudden realization about the next right thing you should do. It might just be the gentle push you need to stop overthinking and finally try the thing you've been too afraid to attempt. It might be the small thing that makes the big difference between staying stuck and finally breaking through. Let me share something I've learned from being on the other side of this dynamic. The moments that mattered most in my own career, the real turning points, were almost never the ones where I figured everything out myself through sheer brilliance or punishingly hard work. They were the small, quiet moments when someone who had already been where I wanted to go took a minute to say, "Here's the piece of the puzzle you're missing," or "Let me introduce you to someone who can help with that specific problem," or simply, I believe you can do this, and here is specifically why. Those moments were inflection points, not because they gave me a complete map, but because they gave me the very next step. And at the end of the day, that's all you ever really need. You don't need the entire path laid out before you for the next 10 years. You just need to know what to do next. So, if you are interested, here is what to do. In the comments section below, answer those 3 questions as honestly and as specifically as you possibly can. What are you building? What specific obstacle is blocking you right now? And what would make this day truly valuable for you? Be honest, not performative. Don't try to impress me or sound smarter than you are. Just be real. Tell me what you are actually working on and what you are actually stuck on. The more specific and vulnerable you are, the better I can evaluate whether I can genuinely help. I will read through everything over the coming week, and I will choose 4 people who I feel I can provide the most tangible value to, and who seem genuinely committed to their work despite the obstacles. I will then reach out directly through whatever contact information you provide, and we will coordinate the timing and logistics to make this happen. And if you are not chosen, please know that it is not a judgment on you or your work. It does not mean what you are working on doesn't matter or that you are not capable. It will simply mean that I didn't feel I could help with your specific situation, or that someone else's situation aligned more closely with the limited experience and network I can offer. The mere fact that you are working on something, that you are stuck on a problem worth being stuck on, and that you are willing to put yourself out there and ask for help, that in itself matters more than you know. Keep going. Find other ways to get access, to learn, to connect. This particular offer might not be for you, but opportunity will come if you keep building towards it. Sometimes it comes from the most unexpected places. Sometimes it is the direct result of sheer persistence. And sometimes it just comes from being ready when a door finally, randomly opens. Your story of persistence is powerful. If you feel comfortable, share a bit about your journey in the comments to inspire others who are also on the path. One more thing, because I know this thought is holding some of you back right now. You're thinking, I'm not ready for this. I need to accomplish more first. I need to build more, prove more, before I deserve this kind of access. I need to be further along. I need to have something more impressive to show. That line of thinking is exactly backward. That is your fear talking, not your sound judgment. The time you need access the most is before you've proven yourself, not after. Once you've made it, once you've built something successful, the doors open automatically. People want to meet you, invest in you, and help you. You don't need special access then. The world grants it to you. It's when you are still figuring things out, still building, still stuck, and still deeply uncertain whether what you are doing will ever work. That is when access matters most. That is when one conversation, one introduction, one key insight can fundamentally alter your trajectory. So please, do not disqualify yourself. Do not decide on my behalf that you are not ready, not worthy, or not impressive enough. Let me be the one to decide if I can help. The absolute worst thing that can happen is that you are not chosen, which means you are in exactly the same position you are in now. Nothing is lost. The best thing that can happen is you get a day that might just unlock a problem you've been struggling with for months or even years. I also want you to understand that this is not charity. I am not doing this to feel good about myself, to check some philanthropic box, or to improve my public image. I am doing this because I believe there is a massive, tragic reservoir of untapped human potential in people who simply need access to the right information, connection, or perspective. And I think that by helping 4 specific people, I might learn something profound myself about how opportunity actually works, about what people truly need when they are stuck, and about whether this kind of direct, personal intervention actually makes a difference. So you are not asking for a favor. You are participating in an experiment that I am genuinely curious about. Your honesty helps me understand the real obstacles people face, not the ones I assume they face. Your specificity helps me evaluate whether I could actually be helpful or if I would just be wasting your valuable time. Your willingness to be vulnerable and ask for help provides me with crucial information about who is truly serious about their work and who is just looking for proximity to someone they perceive as successful. 4 people, 1 day each, complete access, real conversations, a genuine attempt to help. You might be one of them. And if you are, I will make you this promise. I will show up fully. I will answer your questions with complete honesty. I will make introductions where and when I can. I will share what I know, and I will openly admit what I do not. I will treat your time as being every bit as valuable as my own. And I will do my absolute best to give you something, a perspective, a connection, an insight, a next step that actually helps you move forward. But you have to show up too. You have to come prepared with specific questions. You have to be ready to absorb a high volume of information quickly. You have to be willing to admit what you don't know. You have to be open to feedback that might directly contradict what you currently believe to be true. And most importantly, you have to be ready to act on whatever you learn, not just collect the experience as a cool story to tell later. This is an offer. A strange one, maybe. An unprecedented one, definitely. But a real one. And there's something else I need you to understand about why I'm being so specific about this, about why I'm putting so much thought into how this works. I've done a lot of things in my career, some wildly successful, some catastrophic failures. But the things I regret most are not the projects that failed. They are the moments when I had the power to help someone and I didn't, because I was too busy, too distracted, or too narrowly focused on what seemed important to me at the time. I think about the people who reached out over the years, asking for advice, for an introduction, for just one conversation, and I said no or simply ignored them because I didn't have time, because they weren't connected to a project I was working on, because helping them didn't directly advance any goal I had. I wonder how many of those people could have built something amazing if I had just spent an hour talking to them. How many doors I could have unlocked with a single email introduction. How many obstacles I could have helped them see around with one simple conversation. That's what keeps me up at night sometimes. Not the rockets that exploded, or the production delays, or the foolish tweets I shouldn't have sent. It's the people I could have helped and didn't. The potential I could have unlocked just by being a little more generous with my access, but chose not to because it didn't neatly fit into my schedule or my priorities. So, this is me trying to do something about that. Not perfectly. 4 people out of billions isn't much, but it's something. It's direct, it's real, and maybe, just maybe, those 4 people will go on to help others in the same way, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond one single day. Finally, I want to say this. This process will likely be uncomfortable, not because I will be harsh or overly critical, but because real learning is inherently uncomfortable. You will see things that challenge your core assumptions. You will hear feedback you might not want to hear. You may realize that some of what you thought was true is actually wrong, and that some of the problems you've been avoiding are exactly the ones you need to confront. But that discomfort is the friction that creates growth. That is the space where you go from being stuck to being in motion. That is where potential finally begins its transformation into reality. Finally, I want to say this. This process will likely be uncomfortable. Not because I will be harsh or overly critical, but because real learning is inherently uncomfortable. You will see things that challenge your core assumptions. You will hear feedback you might not want to hear. You may realize that some of what you thought was true is actually wrong, and that some of the problems you've been avoiding are exactly the ones you need to confront. But that discomfort is the friction that creates growth. That is the space where you go from being stuck to being in motion. That is where potential finally begins its transformation into reality. So, if you're not ready for that discomfort, if you just want validation, encouragement, or an opportunity to meet someone well-known, this isn't for you. But if you are building something and you need a breakthrough, if you are stuck and you could use access to a different perspective, if you would actually use this opportunity to its fullest, then I invite you to participate. Share this with someone you know who fits that description. And subscribe if you want to see how this experiment unfolds and what happens when we give direct access to people who normally would never have it. Now is the time. Answer those 3 questions in the comments below. What are you building? What is blocking you specifically right now? And what would make this day invaluable for you? I'm looking forward to reading your story.